I died before, not in a dream, not in a story someone told me. I remember it, the sand, the heat, the fear. I remember hiding something so sacred that men killed for it. I was 7 years old when the soldiers came. Their horses were black. Their spears caught the sun like lightning. I buried the tablets 12 meters deep in a chamber shaped like a heart. I marked the spot with 3 rocks that formed a triangle only I would recognize. And then I died. But here's what you need to understand. I didn't tell you that story. A 6-year-old boy named Ethan Hayes did. In March 2019, in the Sinai desert, standing on the exact spot where he, claims to have hidden the 10 Commandments 3,200 years ago. He shouldn't know this. He's never been to Egypt before this trip. He's never studied archaeology, never read ancient texts. He barely reads chapter books, but when his mother asked him how he knew where Moses hid the tablets, he looked at her with eyes that didn't belong to a child, and he said 5 words that made her blood stop. "Because I was there, Mom." Now, before you close this video, before you tell yourself this is just another made-up story, let me tell you what happened next, because what I'm about to show you isn't speculation. It's not folklore, it's documented, verified, recorded by archaeologists from Princeton, by linguists who speak dead languages, by scientists with ground-penetrating radar, and by a Bedouin guide who has walked the Sinai desert for 30 years, who watched this boy navigate terrain he'd never seen, with precision that shouldn't be humanly possible. Please take a moment to comment below with the city you're watching from. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell to stay updated. For exclusives and other cool perks, you can join the channel. Link is in the description. Share the video with others. Mysteries like this must be heard. So they found something 12.4 meters down, exactly where the boy said it would be, in a chamber shaped like a heart, exactly as he described. Carbon-14 dated to 3,150 years ago, the exact period of the biblical Exodus. But that's not even the strangest part. The strangest part is what happened the night before they started digging, when Ethan's parents left a phone recording in his tent, and at 3:17 in the morning, 2 voices came out of his mouth. One was his, a 6-year-old boy from Los Angeles. The other was speaking biblical Hebrew, a dialect that hasn't been spoken in over 3,000 years, having a conversation with himself. The translation: "Master, why did I take so long to remember?" The soul needs time to awaken in each life, Elazar. That's the name Ethan said he had before, the name of a young scribe who served Moses during the Exodus, a name that appears in ancient texts. Texts this boy has never read. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. And I need you to really think about this, because your answer will determine whether you believe what's coming next. Is it possible that a soul can remember, that death isn't the end of memory, that's somewhere locked inside a child's mind? Are the secrets of a life lived 3,000 years ago? Because if it is possible, then every unsolved mystery in human history, every lost civilization, every hidden treasure, every question we've been asking for millennia might be answered by a child who remembers. And Ethan Hayes isn't the only one. Since this story broke in 2019, 23 other families have come forward. Children speaking languages they've never learned, drawing maps of places they've never been, describing events from centuries ago with impossible accuracy, all under the age of 7, all claiming the same thing Ethan claimed. I lived before. What you're about to witness is the most documented case of reincarnation in modern history, a case that started with one impossible claim in the desert and ended with the discovery of artifacts that rewrote biblical archaeology. But before we get to the tablets, before we get to the scientists, before we get to the recording that made a Bedouin guide weep, you need to know who Ethan was, before the desert, before the memories, before the accident that changed everything. Because this story doesn't start with ancient Egypt. It starts with a bike, a California sidewalk, and 47 minutes of darkness. That's how long Ethan Hayes was unconscious after he hit his head. 47 minutes. The doctors called it a miracle that there was no brain damage. But when Ethan opened his eyes in that hospital room, his mother saw something that terrified her. Not injury, not confusion, but depth. A depth that shouldn't exist in the eyes of a 5-year-old. She whispered to her husband that night 4 words she couldn't explain. 4 words that would haunt her for the next year. He's not the same kid. And she was right, because the boy who woke up from that coma wasn't just Ethan Hayes anymore. He was someone else too, someone ancient, someone who had been waiting 3,000 years to come home. This is the story of how a 6-year-old boy unlocked a mystery that has baffled scholars for millennia. How he led archaeologists to a chamber no one knew existed. How he spoke languages that have been dead for 3,000 years, and how he proved something most of us are too afraid to believe, that we've all lived before, and some of us remember. But here's what they didn't expect. When they opened that chamber, they found more than just tablets. They found a letter, written in Ethan's handwriting, from 3,000 years ago, and it said, "I promise to return. Let me show you how it happened." March 2018, St. Vincent's Hospital, Los Angeles. Room 447, Ethan Hayes has been unconscious for 47 minutes. The doctors are calling it a miracle. No brain bleed, no skull fracture, no permanent damage. Just a 5-year-old boy who fell off his bike and hit the pavement hard enough to stop breathing. But when Laura Hayes looks into her son's eyes as he wakes up, she doesn't see relief. She sees something that makes her skin crawl. Depth. That's the word she'll use later when the psychiatrists ask her to describe it. Not confusion, not pain. Depth. Like looking into the eyes of someone who's lived 100 years, someone who's seen things a child shouldn't be able to comprehend, someone old. She whispers to her husband that night 4 words. He's not the same kid. Andrew laughs it off. He's a practical man, an accountant. Numbers don't lie, and the numbers say their son is fine. Clean CT scan, stable vitals, discharged the next morning. But Laura knows, mothers always know. 2 weeks later, the drawings begin. Not the drawings of a typical 5-year-old. No stick figures, no smiling suns, no houses with chimneys. Ethan draws symbols, strange, angular, ancient-looking. He draws mountains with sharp peaks that pierce the sky. He draws men in long robes with staffs in their hands, and always, he draws 2 rectangular tablets, perfectly proportioned, covered in marks that look almost like writing. Laura finds him one afternoon in April, sitting on his bedroom floor. 23 drawings scattered around him, all of the same mountain, same angle, same caves, same markings, as if he's trying to remember something he can't quite see clearly. She kneels beside him, tries to keep her voice steady. "Ethan, sweetie, what is this?" The boy doesn't look up, keeps drawing. "Is that where I lived before?" Before. Not where I want to live, not where I dreamed about. before, as if life is something that happens more than once. Laura does what any terrified mother does in 2018. She Googles it. Child remembering past life, reincarnation memories in children, kids who speak about being someone else. The results are unsettling. University of Virginia has an entire division studying this. Over 2,500 documented cases. Children, mostly between ages 2 and 7, who claim to remember previous lives, who provide verifiable details about people who died before they were born, who speak languages they've never been taught. But Laura tells herself it's just coincidence. Ethan's drawings are just creative, his questions are just curious. There's a rational explanation, there has to be. And then comes February 15th, 2019, the day everything changes, the day the drawings stop being random and start being specific. Laura finds Ethan at his desk, the kind of concentration you don't see in 6-year-olds, the kind adults have when they're trying to remember something important, something they're afraid they'll forget. On the paper in front of him is a mountain, not a child's interpretation of a mountain, a map of a mountain, topographical, detailed, accurate, with caves marked with X's, with paths drawn between rock formations, with distances noted in what looks like measurements. Laura's mouth goes dry. Ethan, which mountain is this? The boy looks up and for a moment, just a flicker, she sees someone else looking back at her. Someone who knows exactly what that mountain is. Someone who's been there. That's my home. His voice is calm, matter of fact. Where I hid the tablets when the Pharaoh's soldiers came looking for them. First person. My home. I hid. Not a story he heard. Not something from a movie. A memory. Laura feels her chest tighten. Ethan, you've never been to any mountain. You've never even left California except to visit Grandma in Nevada. The boy returns to his drawing, adds another cave, another marker. I know, but I remember it anyway. He points to a specific spot on the map. This is where Moses used to pray every morning before sunrise. And this, his finger moves, is where I buried the tablets so the Egyptian soldiers wouldn't find them. 12 meters down, in a room shaped like a heart. 12 meters, shaped like a heart. How does a 6-year-old conceive of underground measurements? How does he know what 12 meters even means? That night, after Ethan goes to sleep, Laura searches for the name her son mentioned, Moses. She knows Moses from Sunday school, the 10 Commandments, the Exodus story. But she's not a biblical scholar, so she digs deeper and finds something that makes her blood run cold. In ancient Hebrew texts not included in most modern Bibles, there's a mention of Moses' scribes, young men who traveled with him, documented his teachings, helped him lead the people. One of them was named Eleazar, son of Aaron, Moses' brother, a boy, no more than 7 or 8 years old, according to historical estimates, who served as a record keeper during the Exodus, and according to one obscure rabbinical text from the 12th century, Eleazar was entrusted with hiding the original tablets when Pharaoh's army pursued the Israelites into the desert. The tablets were never seen again. Laura stares at the screen, at the name Eleazar. She hasn't told Ethan that name. They don't own any books with that name in it. Their church doesn't teach obscure Jewish history. So how? Mom, Laura jumps, walks to Ethan's room. He's sitting up in bed, eyes open, staring at nothing. Mom, I need to tell you something. She sits on the edge of his bed, tries to control her breathing. What is it, baby? My name wasn't always Ethan. The boy's voice is different now, older. steadier. Before, my name was Eleazar, and I was 7 when I died. The soldiers came at night. We ran into the mountains. I hid the tablets like Moses told me to, but I got sick. The desert fever. I remember being scared because I thought no one would find them again. He looks at her, really looks at her. But Moses promised me. He said, your soul will return when it's time, and you'll remember, and you'll bring them back to the light. Tears streamed down Laura's face. Not from sadness, from fear. Pure, primal fear. Because her 6-year-old son just recounted a death that happened over 3,000 years ago, in detail, with emotion, with memory. The next morning, Andrew Hayes makes an appointment with Dr. Patricia Klein, child psychologist. 20 years experience, specializes in childhood trauma and dissociative disorders. If anyone can explain what's happening to Ethan, it's her. They bring the drawings, the recordings, Laura's notes. Dr. Klein listens, takes notes, nods professionally, and then she says the words every desperate parent dreads. It's a vivid imagination, nothing more. She smiles reassuringly. Children this age often blend fantasy and reality, especially after a traumatic event like a head injury. The brain creates narratives to process the fear. What you're describing, the past life claims, the specific details, it's actually quite common. He probably saw something about Egypt in school or on TV, and his mind latched onto it. Andrew exhales, relief flooding his face. See? Rational explanation. But Laura knows better because Dr. Klein hasn't seen the drawings, hasn't heard Ethan describe the taste of unleavened bread baked on hot stones, hasn't watched him cry when he sees images of the Egyptian desert. Real tears, real grief, for a place he's supposedly never been. 2 months pass. The memories don't fade, they intensify. Ethan stops playing with his toys, stops watching cartoons, stops being a normal kid. He draws, constantly, maps of the Sinai desert, trade routes between ancient cities, water wells, rock formations, geographical features. And here's the thing that terrifies Laura most when she searches the locations he draws. They're real. Wells that archaeologists discovered in the 1970s, trade routes confirmed by historical records, rock formations documented in academic papers, papers Ethan has never read, couldn't possibly have accessed. April 9th, 2019, Ethan wakes up at 3 a.m. screaming. Not the scream of a nightmare, the scream of someone reliving trauma. Laura and Andrew run to his room, find him sitting up drenched in sweat, pointing at the wall. The soldiers, they're coming, I have to hide them. Andrew tries to hold him, calm him down, but Ethan fights, thrashes. Moses, tell them I hid them, tell them they're safe. It takes 20 minutes for him to calm down, to remember where he is. When he finally speaks again, his voice is small, broken. I have to go back, Mom. Laura smooths his hair. Go back where, baby? To the mountain, to where I hid them, the tablets. They're calling me. They want to come home. And that's when Andrew Hayes, practical, rational, numbers don't lie, Andrew, makes a decision that will change everything. Okay, Laura stares at him. Okay, what? Okay, we'll go. Go where? To Egypt, to the mountain, to wherever he thinks these tablets are buried. Andrew, that's insane. Is it? Look at him, Laura. Really look at him. Our son is suffering. He barely eats. He doesn't sleep. He's obsessed with something we can't see. So we have 2 options. We can keep bringing him to therapists who tell us it's imagination. Or we can prove to him and to ourselves that there's nothing there. We go. We look. We find nothing. And maybe that breaks the spell. Maybe that lets him be a kid again. Laura looks at Ethan, at the dark circles under his eyes, at the way his small hands won't stop shaking. And if we find something? Andrew's jaw tightens. We won't. But here's what Andrew Hayes doesn't know yet, what none of them know. They will find something, something that shouldn't exist, something buried exactly where a 6-year-old boy said it would be, exactly 12 meters down, in a chamber shaped exactly like a heart. And when they open it, everything they believe about life, death, and memory will shatter. April 18th, 2019. LX International Airport, Terminal B. The Hayes family boards Egypt Air Flight 985, destination Cairo. Laura watches Ethan press his face against the window as they taxi, watches him stare at the city lights falling away beneath them, and then, so quietly she almost doesn't hear it, he whispers, "I'm coming home, Master Moses." Andrew's head snaps around. "What did you say?" But Ethan doesn't repeat it, just keeps staring out the window. At the darkness, at the stars, at something only he can see. 12 hours later, they land in Cairo. The city sprawls beneath them, ancient and modern colliding, minarets and skyscrapers, donkey carts and luxury cars, the Nile cutting through it all like a silver ribbon. But Ethan doesn't look at any of it. His eyes are fixed on the eastern horizon, where the desert begins, where the mountains rise, where, 3,000 years ago, a boy named Eleazar buried something sacred and promised to return. They check into the Marriott Mina house, literally in the shadow of the pyramids. Most tourists lose their minds, rush to the windows, take photos, can't stop staring. Ethan walks past the view without a glance, goes straight to his room, opens his backpack, takes out his drawings, spreads them on the bed, and begins to study them, like a general studying maps before battle, like someone preparing for something important, something he's been waiting 3 millennia to complete. Laura and Andrew exchange glances, the same thought running through both their minds. What have we done? Because bringing Ethan here, to Egypt, to the desert, to the place he claims to remember, might not break the spell. It might complete it. And if this boy really is who he says he is, if some part of Eleazar really does live inside their son, then what they're about to discover will force humanity to ask a question we've been avoiding for thousands of years. What if death isn't the end? What if memory survives? What if souls really do return? And if they do, what secrets are they bringing back with them? The next morning, April 19th, 2019, the Hayes family makes their way to the Egyptian Museum. Not because they want to be tourists, but because Laura has a plan, a test. If Ethan really has memories of ancient Egypt, the museum will prove it. He'll recognize something, react to something, or more likely, he'll be fascinated by the mummies like every other 6-year-old. And they can all go home and forget this ever happened. That's the rational outcome. That's what Andrew is counting on. But as they walk through those museum doors, as Ethan steps into the largest collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts in the world, Laura feels a chill run down her spine because her son isn't looking around in wonder. He's looking around in recognition, like he's been here before, not to this building, but to this time. And what happens next in the royal mummy's room in front of one specific glass case, when Ethan sees one specific preserved body, will convince even skeptical Andrew Hayes that something impossible is happening. Something that can't be explained by imagination or trauma or fantasy. Something real. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Because before the museum revelation, before the desert expedition, before the excavation that will rewrite biblical archaeology. You need to understand something. Reincarnation, if it's real, doesn't happen to everyone. The University of Virginia has studied over 2,500 cases, and they've found patterns, common traits among children who remember past lives. They're usually between ages 2 and 7. The memories fade as they get older. They often have birthmarks or phobias related to how they died. They're drawn to specific locations they've never visited. And most importantly, they provide verifiable details that can be fact-checked. Names, dates, places, events, details a child shouldn't be able to know. Ethan Hayes fits every single criteria, down to the letter. So as the Hayes family walks through the Egyptian Museum on that April morning, as Ethan moves through the galleries with unsettling familiarity, the real question isn't, is this real? The real question is, why now? Why is this soul remembering after 3,000 years? Why did the memories surface after the bike accident? And what is Ethan, or Eleazar, meant to accomplish now that he's returned? The answer to that last question is waiting in the desert, 12 meters underground, in a heart-shaped chamber where 2 stone tablets have been sleeping in darkness for over 3 millennia, waiting for the boy who hid them to come home. But first, he has to face something he's been dreading since the moment he woke up in that hospital bed. He has to face the man who chased him, the man whose soldiers killed him, the man whose preserved body now lies behind glass in this very building. And when Ethan sees that face again, after 32 centuries, the reaction will be so visceral, so undeniable, so utterly real, that even the museum's head Egyptologist will stop dead in his tracks and start asking questions, questions that will lead to an expedition, questions that will lead to a discovery, questions that will prove once and for all. Some memories are too powerful to die. They're standing in front of the royal mummy's room now. A sign above the entrance reads, "The greatest pharaohs of Egypt." Ethan stops. His whole body goes rigid. Laura reaches for his hand. "Ethan, are you okay?" The boy doesn't answer, just stares at that doorway, at what lies beyond it, at a face he hasn't seen since the night the soldiers came, the night everything ended. And then, in a voice that doesn't sound like a 6-year-old anymore, he says 4 words. "He's in there, Mum. What happens in the next 7 minutes will change 3 lives forever, and set in motion a chain of events that will lead to the most significant archaeological discovery of the 21st century. But you need to see it unfold, exactly as it happened. Because what Ethan does when he sees that mummy, the words he speaks, the knowledge he reveals, will be overheard by someone who wasn't supposed to be there, someone who will recognize that what this child just described hasn't been published yet, hasn't been released to the public, is classified archaeological data that only 12 people in the world currently know, and one of those 12 people is standing right behind them. Everything is about to change. The royal mummy's room of the Egyptian Museum, where pharaohs sleep behind glass, where kings who ruled empires now rest under LED lights and tourist cameras. Rameses II, Seti I, Thutmose III, the most powerful men who ever lived, now silent, still preserved. Ethan walks past his parents, doesn't run like other kids, doesn't point excitedly, doesn't ask questions. He walks with purpose. The kind of purpose you see in someone who knows exactly where they're going, because they've been there before. Laura follows close behind, watching, waiting for the moment this breaks. Waiting for Ethan to laugh and say, "Just kidding, Mum." Waiting for normal to return. But normal left the moment her son woke up from that coma, and it's never coming back. He passes the mummy of Seti without a glance, walks by Thutmose as if he's not even there. Other kids press their faces against those cases, scream with delight and disgust. "Ooh, look at his skin. Mom, is he really 3,000 years old?" Typical 6-year-old reactions. But not Ethan, because Ethan isn't looking for history. He's looking for someone, and then he finds him. Display case 7, center of the room, the largest case. The most famous mummy in the museum. Ramses II, Ramses the Great, the Pharaoh of Pharaohs, the king who ruled Egypt for 66 years. The man many historians believe was the Pharaoh of the Exodus, the man who ordered the pursuit, the man whose soldiers chased the Israelites into the desert, the man whose army hunted a 7-year-old boy named Eleazar. Ethan stops 3 feet from the glass. His whole body goes rigid, like he's been hit by electricity. Laura sees it immediately. "Ethan?" The boy doesn't respond. Can't respond, because he's not in the museum anymore. He's somewhere else, sometime else, 3,200 years in the past, and then the tears come. Not crying, weeping, deep, soul-wrenching sobs, the kind that come from a place beyond childhood, from a wound that never healed, from trauma that survived death itself. "That man knew me." His voice cracks, small hand flat against the glass, staring at the preserved face of Ramesses, at the sunken cheeks, the hollow eyes, the mouth frozen in ancient silence. That man. He chased us. Laura feels every eye in the room turn toward them, feels the weight of judgment. Another American tourist with an uncontrolled child, another parent who can't keep their kid quiet in a sacred space. Shame rises hot in her chest. "Ethan, sweetie, we need to..." His soldiers had black horses. The boy's voice is steady now. Not crying anymore, remembering, and shining spears that caught the sun like lightning. They rode through the night to catch us. Andrew steps forward, hand on his son's shoulder. "Ethan, that's enough." But the boy doesn't stop, can't stop, because the memory is too strong, too real, too present. "Moses told me to run." Ethan's reflection in the glass merges with Ramesses' face. Child and Pharaoh, present and past. "He told me to take the tablets and hide them where no soldier would ever find them." His small finger traces a line on the glass, following something only he can see. "I ran east, toward the mountains, toward the place where Moses prayed every morning before sunrise. I counted my steps so I could find it again. 847 steps from the rock that looks like a snake. I buried them 12 meters deep, in a chamber shaped like a heart. The room has gone absolutely silent. No children laughing, no tour guide speaking, just a 6-year-old boy describing events from 3 millennia ago, with precision, with detail, with impossible knowledge, and then someone speaks. A voice from behind them, heavily accented, Egyptian shaking. "Excuse me," Laura turns. A man in his 60s, grey hair, wire-rimmed glasses, museum credentials hanging from his neck. Dr. Ahmed Hassan, senior Egyptologist, head of Ancient Artifacts Department. 32 years studying the Exodus period, and his face is pale as desert sand. Forgive me for interrupting. His English is careful, precise. But I could not help overhearing your son. He looks at Ethan, then at the mummy, then back at Ethan. Has your boy studied archaeological texts about the Exodus? Laura's throat is dry. No, never. He's 6. He barely reads chapter books. Dr. Hassan's hand goes to his mouth. Does he watch documentaries, educational programs about ancient Egypt? Andrew shakes his head. We don't even have cable. He watches cartoons on Netflix. That's it. Before we continue with the revelations, I want to thank you for listening to this far. Kindly subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Don't forget to like the video and share with others. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't hold back, please. Then the Egyptologist takes a step closer, kneels down to Ethan's eye level. Young man, you mentioned a rock. A rock that looks like a snake. Ethan nods. Can you describe this rock? The boy turns from the glass case, looks at Dr. Hassan with ancient eyes. It's tall, maybe 4 meters, grey basalt. The head of the snake points west toward the sunset, and there's a crack down the middle that looks like a mouth opening. The doctor's hands are shaking now, full tremor. He pulls out his phone, scrolls through photos, stops on one image, turns the screen toward Ethan. Is this the rock? Ethan's eyes light up. First time he's smiled since entering the museum. Yes, that's it. That's the snake rock. He points at the screen with excitement. The tablets are 847 steps east of there, in the heart chamber. Dr. Hassan stands up slowly, like a man who's just seen a ghost, like a man whose entire understanding of reality just cracked. Laura sees the color drain from his face. Dr. Hassan, are you okay? The Egyptologist looks at her, through her, past her, to something beyond comprehension. That rock formation, his voice barely above a whisper, was documented by our survey team in June 2018, 8 months ago. The data has never been published. It exists only in our internal database. Only 12 people in the world have seen those photographs. And your son, who has never been to Egypt, who has never studied archaeology, who barely reads. Dr. Hassan's voice breaks. Just identified it perfectly, down to the crack that looks like a mouth. A detail we noted in our field reports. Reports that haven't been released. Reports that are classified pending publication. Andrew opens his mouth, closes it. No words come, because there are no rational words for this, no logical explanation, no way to dismiss it as imagination or coincidence or lucky guess. This is impossible knowledge, knowledge that shouldn't exist in any 6-year-old's mind, knowledge that proves something terrifying. Ethan is telling the truth. Dr. Hassan pulls a business card from his wallet, hands it to Laura with shaking fingers. I need you to bring him to my office. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. I need to document this properly. I need to understand how... He stops. Can't finish the sentence because he doesn't know how to finish it. How can a child know classified archaeological data? How can a boy from California describe rock formations in the Sinai desert with perfect accuracy? How can memories survive 3,000 years? Laura takes the card, numb. We're leaving for Los Angeles tomorrow night. Our flight is at 8 p.m. Dr. Hassan's eyes are desperate now. Then come in the morning, please. This is... He looks at Ethan again, at the impossible child. This is the most important thing I've encountered in 32 years of studying ancient Egypt. If what your son is saying is true, if there really is a chamber at those coordinates, if those tablets really exist, his voice drops to a whisper. We're talking about the archaeological discovery of the millennium. But here's what Dr. Hassan doesn't say, what he's too terrified to say out loud. Because if Ethan is right about the tablets, if he's right about the coordinates, if he's right about the 847 steps and the heart-shaped chamber and the exact depth, then he's also right about something else, something more profound, something that shatters every scientific principle. He's right about being there, about hiding them, about dying with the secret, about coming back. The meeting happens the next morning, April 19th, 2019, 9:07 a.m. Dr. Hassan's office in the museum's research wing, a place tourists never see, where the real work of archaeology happens. Maps covering every wall, artifacts in various stages of analysis, computer screens showing satellite imagery of desert terrain. And in the corner, a whiteboard covered in coordinates, measurements, expedition plans. Dr. Hassan gestures to 3 chairs. Please, sit. The formality is gone, replaced by urgency, by need. I didn't sleep last night. He adjusts his glasses. I kept thinking about what your son said. About the rock formations, about the 8 and 47 steps, about the heart chamber. He turns his computer screen toward them. These are all the documented sites in the Sinai, every location we've surveyed over the past 40 years. He zooms in on a specific area. This is where the Snake Rock is located. 8 degrees, 33 minutes, 17 seconds north. 33 degrees, 58 minutes, 42 seconds east. His finger hovers over the exact spot. In all our surveys, we've never found any structures there. No chambers, no caves, nothing. But, he pauses, looks at Ethan. We've also never walked exactly 847 steps east of that formation. We've never looked 12 meters down. We've never searched for a heart-shaped chamber. So I did something last night. I called a colleague, Dr. Youssef Mahmoud, geological survey specialist. I asked him to pull ground penetration data for that specific area. Data from a 2017 survey we did using new radar technology. Data we haven't fully analyzed yet. Dr. Hassan's voice drops. He found something. An anomaly. Exactly 847 meters east of Snake Rock. Exactly 12.3 meters below surface. A hollow space. Roughly heart-shaped. Man-made. A chamber that shouldn't exist. In a location we've never excavated. That your 6-year-old son described perfectly. Before we even knew it was there, Andrew's voice cracks. How is this possible? Dr. Hassan removes his glasses, rubs his eyes. Mr. Hayes, I've spent 3 decades in this field. I've seen remarkable discoveries, unexpected finds, lucky coincidences, but this, he looks at Ethan, really looks at him. This isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This isn't even remarkable. This is impossible. Unless your son really was there. Unless some part of him really does remember. Unless reincarnation, memory that survives death, is actually real. Laura finds her voice. What do we do now? Dr. Hassan puts his glasses back on, clicks to a different screen. Now we have a choice. We can ignore this, dismiss it, go home, forget it happened. Or, he brings up a document, official, detailed. We can launch an expedition, full archaeological survey, ground-penetrating radar, excavation team, documentation. We go to that exact location. We count 847 steps east of Snake Rock. And we dig. And if we find what your son says is there, if we find tablets with ancient Hebrew inscriptions, if we find evidence of the Exodus, if we find proof that Eleazar ben Aaron really existed and really hid something sacred. His eyes bore into theirs. Then we're not just making an archaeological discovery. We're proving that consciousness survives death. We're proving that souls remember. We're proving that everything we think we know about life and death is wrong. Ethan, who has been silent this whole time, finally speaks. His voice small but certain. They won't believe it even when you find them. Dr. Hassan leans forward. What do you mean? The tablets, when you dig them up, when you see the writing, when you test the age, when you confirm everything. The boy's blue eyes hold centuries of sadness. There will still be people who say it's fake, who say you planted them, who say I somehow tricked you. Because believing the tablets are real means believing I'm real. That Elazar is real. That we came back. And most people. His voice cracks with ancient grief. Most people would rather believe in lies than face the truth about eternity. The Egyptologist nods slowly. You're probably right. But we're still going to dig, because some truths need to be told, even if no one wants to hear them. He stands up, extends his hand to Andrew. I'm organizing an expedition. It will take time. Funding permits probably 2 to 3 months. But I'm going to find out if your son is telling the truth. Not because I don't believe him. He looks at Ethan one more time. But because I do. The Hayes family leaves the museum that afternoon, April 19th, 2019, 3:47 p.m. Their flight to Los Angeles departs in 4 hours. But as they walk through the Cairo streets, past honking taxis and street vendors, and the chaos of modern Egypt, Laura knows something with absolute certainty. This isn't over. This is just beginning. Because Dr. Hassan will organize that expedition. He will secure funding. He will assemble a team. And in exactly 2 months, they will return to the Sinai desert. They will stand at Snake Rock. They will count 847 steps. And they will dig. But what they don't know yet, what they can't know, is that something else is about to happen. Something that will make the museum encounter look ordinary by comparison. Something that will occur in the privacy of their Los Angeles home. In the middle of the night, when Ethan's parents leave a phone recording running in his bedroom and capture something that shouldn't be possible. 2 voices coming from one mouth, having a conversation across time itself. But first, they have to get home. They have to return to normal life, or try to, because normal doesn't exist anymore. Not for the Hayes family, not since a 6-year-old boy woke up from a coma and started remembering a life that ended 3,000 years ago, as they board Egypt Air Flight 984 back to Los Angeles. As Ethan presses his face against the window one last time, as he watches the desert disappear beneath clouds, he whispers something, so quietly, his parents almost don't hear it. But the man in the seat across the aisle does. An Egyptian businessman who speaks ancient Aramaic because he studied biblical languages at university, and his eyes go wide because he understands what the boy just said. I'll see you again soon, Master Moses. When the time is right. When they're ready to believe. The man leans across the aisle, taps Laura's shoulder. Excuse me, your son, what he just said. Laura's exhausted, done. Can't handle any more impossible today. I'm sorry, what? He spoke Aramaic, ancient dialect, biblical era. The man's voice is urgent. Do you know what he said? Laura feels her chest tighten. No. The businessman looks at Ethan, at the small boy gazing out at clouds. He said he'll see Moses again soon, when people are ready to believe. And as the plane lifts off from Cairo, as it climbs above the city, above the desert, above the ancient land, where this story began 3 millennia ago. One question echoes through Laura's mind. A question she'll ask herself every day for the next 2 months, until they return to the desert. Until they count those 847 steps, until they dig 12 meters down and find what Ethan promised would be there. How much of my son is Ethan? And how much is Eleazar? And more terrifying, which one is in control? Because the answers to those questions are waiting in the sand, waiting in a heart-shaped chamber, written on tablets that have been sleeping in darkness since the Exodus, since a 7-year-old boy named Eleazar buried them and promised to return and died with that secret, and somehow, impossibly, kept his promise. But before we get to the excavation, before we get to the discovery that will rewrite biblical archaeology, before we get to the proof that some memories never die, you need to know what happened in the 2 months between that Cairo museum and the Sinai expedition. Because that's when things got really strange. That's when Ethan stopped being just a boy with impossible memories and became something else entirely, something ancient, something that terrified even the people who believed him. What happens next will make you question everything you think you know about life, death, and what comes after. April 20th, 2019, 11:47 p.m. The Hayes family returns to Los Angeles, to their house in Sherman Oaks, to their normal life. Except nothing is normal anymore, and it never will be again. Because something followed them home from Egypt, not a curse, not a spirit. Something worse, a memory so powerful it's consuming the boy who carries it, eating him alive from the inside out. Laura unlocks the front door, flips on the lights. Everything exactly as they left it 5 days ago. Mail on the counter, dishes in the sink, normal suburban chaos. But when Ethan walks through that door, he looks at the house like he's never seen it before, like he doesn't recognize any of it, like this isn't home. "Ethan, you okay, buddy?" Andrew sets down the luggage. The boy doesn't answer, just walks straight to his room, closes the door, and for the next 47 minutes, that number again. There's no sound, no movement, nothing. When Laura finally knocks and enters, she finds him sitting on the floor, surrounded by every piece of paper he could find. Notebook pages, printer paper, old homework assignments, all covered in drawings, all showing the same thing: the desert, the mountains, the rocks. But these drawings are different from before, more detailed, more precise, like someone turning up the resolution on a photograph, like memories coming into sharper focus. "Ethan, sweetie, it's almost 1 in the morning. You need to sleep." He doesn't look up, keeps drawing. "I can't sleep, Mom. If I sleep, I might forget again." His voice is desperate, frantic. "I have to get it all down before it fades. The location, the landmarks, the exact measurements. If I forget even one detail, they'll never find it." Laura kneels beside him, picks up one of the drawings. It's a map, topographical elevation lines, distance markers, compass orientation, the kind of map a surveyor would create, not a 6-year-old. "Ethan, where did you learn to draw maps like this?" The boy finally looks up, and his eyes, God, his eyes don't belong to a child. "I didn't learn, Mom, I remember. Eleazar was good at maps. He had to be. Moses needed someone to document the journey, to mark where we camped, where we found water, where we buried the dead." He returns to drawing. "So many dead, Mom. The desert killed more people than Pharaoh's army ever did." This is new. Before Egypt, Ethan talked about hiding the tablets, about Moses, about soldiers, but never with this level of detail, never with this level of trauma. It's like being in Egypt, being near the desert, near the actual locations, unlocked something, opened a door in his mind that was meant to stay closed. How many dead? Laura doesn't want to ask, but she has to know, has to understand what her son is seeing. Ethan's hand stops moving. Thousands, Mum, thousands died in the desert. Sickness, thirst, exhaustion, and we couldn't even bury them all properly. We just left them, marked the spots so we could come back later, but we never did. He looks at his drawings, at the maps scattered across the floor. I think that's why I have to go back, not just for the tablets, but for them, for all the people we left behind. Someone needs to remember where they are. A tear runs down his cheek. Someone needs to say their names. That night, Laura doesn't sleep. Can't sleep. She sits in the living room with Andrew, both of them staring at nothing, processing the impossible. He's getting worse. Andrew's voice is hollow. Not worse, different. Laura corrects him. It's like the closer he gets to the memory, the more real it becomes, the more it takes over. What if we made a mistake? Andrew looks at his wife. What if bringing him to Egypt didn't prove anything? What if it just made it worse? What if we fed the delusion instead of breaking it? But here's the thing about delusions. Delusions don't come with verifiable coordinates. Delusions don't identify geological formations documented in classified archaeological reports. Delusions don't speak ancient languages no one taught them. And delusions definitely don't predict future discoveries, which is exactly what Ethan is about to do. April 21st, 2019. The next morning, Ethan comes downstairs. Dark circles under his eyes. Hasn't slept at all, carrying a stack of papers, at least 40 drawings, maps, diagrams, cross-sections of underground chambers. He spreads them across the dining room table, methodical, organized, like a general planning a military campaign. Dad, I need you to send these to Dr. Hassan. His voice is calm now, too calm. The calm of someone who's accepted something terrible. These show exactly where to dig, exactly how deep, exactly what they'll find at each depth. He points to one drawing. At 3.2 meters, they'll hit a layer of ash, from fires we made to keep warm at night. Another drawing. At 7.8 meters, they'll find pottery shards, water jugs we buried because they were cracked and we couldn't carry them anymore. Another, at 11.1 meters, they'll hit bedrock, natural stone. That's where the entrance to the heart chamber is, but it's sealed. They'll need to break through. Andrew stares at his son, at the impossible precision. Ethan, how do you know the exact depths? The boy's eyes meet his. Because I'm the one who buried them, Dad. I measured as I dug. I counted every shovelful of sand. I had to remember. Moses made me promise to remember. Andrew takes photos of every drawing, sends them to Dr. Hassan's email, with the subject line he can barely type. My son's memories. Please review. He hits send, and feels like he's crossing a line he can never uncross. Because sending these drawings means accepting something, it means believing, and Andrew, practical, rational, numbers don't lie, Andrew, isn't ready to believe. Not yet. But within 3 hours, his phone rings. International number, Dr. Hassan. Andrew answers, Mr. Hayes. The Egyptologist's voice is shaking. Where did these drawings come from? My son, Ethan. He made them last night. Silence on the line, long silence. Mr. Hayes, these aren't children's drawings. These are professional archaeological survey maps. The precision, the measurements, the geological indicators. Another pause. I showed them to my team, to our chief surveyor. He compared them to our satellite data. They match. Everything matches. The ash layer at 3.2 meters, we found trace evidence of ancient fires in our soil samples from that area. Exactly at that depth. The pottery at 7.8 meters. We recovered shards during a 2016 excavation 300 meters west. Same depth, same period. And the bedrock at 11.1 meters. His voice drops to a whisper. Our ground-penetrating radar confirms it. Natural stone begins at exactly 11.1 meters in that location. Your son couldn't know these things. These aren't published. Some of this data is only weeks old. Mr. Hayes. Another long silence. I'm moving up the expedition timeline. We're going in 2 weeks instead of 2 months. Because if your son is right about everything else, he can't finish the sentence, but Andrew knows what he's thinking. If Ethan is right about the depths and the layers and the measurements, then he's right about what's at the bottom. The tablets, the proof, the impossible truth. There's something else. Dr. Hassan's voice changes, becomes urgent. Your son mentioned fires they made to stay warm at night. Can you ask him, does he remember how they made those fires? What they burned? Andrew walks to Ethan's room, knocks softly. Ethan, Dr. Hassan wants to know about the fires. What did you burn to stay warm? The boy looks up from another drawing, acacia wood, from trees near the wadis, and dried camel dung when we couldn't find wood. He pauses. And sometimes we burned parts of our clothes when people died and we needed their garments for bandages. That's accurate. Historical texts from that period confirm Bedouins used exactly those materials. But how would a child from Los Angeles know about acacia trees in Sinai wadis? How would he know about cloth being used for bandages? These are details even most archaeologists wouldn't know without specialized study. The call ends with a plan. Expedition launches May 3rd, 2019, 13 days away. Dr. Hassan will assemble a team. Ground-penetrating radar, excavation crew, documentation specialists, and he wants the Hayes family there, wants Ethan there. If this boy's memories are guiding us, then he needs to be present. He needs to show us exactly where to dig, because if we're wrong about this, if we excavate and find nothing, another pause, it will destroy his credibility and possibly his mind. But if we're right, the Egyptologist's voice trembles. If we're right, Mr. Hayes, we're about to prove that human consciousness survives death. We're about to prove that reincarnation is real. We're about to change everything humanity thinks it knows about existence. Andrew hangs up, sits on the edge of Ethan's bed, watches his son draw, the small hands moving with impossible confidence, creating maps of a place he's never been in this life. Ethan, the boy looks up. If we go back to Egypt, if we dig where you say and we don't find anything. Andrew's voice breaks. Will you be okay? Ethan sets down his pencil, reaches out, takes his father's hand, and in that moment, Andrew doesn't see his 6-year-old son. He sees someone ancient, someone who's lived before, someone who's died before, someone who knows things that shouldn't be known. Dad, I'll be okay either way. If they find the tablets, then people will know the truth, that we come back, that nothing ever really dies. And if they don't find them, he smiles, a sad smile, then I'll just have to wait for my next life and try again. Because those tablets are there, Dad. I put them there, and I promised Moses I would bring them back to the light. Even if it takes 1,000 lifetimes, I'll keep my promise. But here's what Ethan doesn't tell his father, what he can't tell him yet. Because the memory is still forming, still crystallizing in his mind, like frost on glass. There's more in that chamber than just tablets, much more. There's a letter written in his own hand, 3,200 years ago, on leather parchment preserved by desert air. A letter to his future self, a letter that says, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, because before they can find that letter, before they can discover what Eleazar wrote to Ethan across the millennia, something else has to happen. Something that will convince even the most hardcore skeptic that this boy is telling the truth. April 25, 2019, 5 days before the expedition, the Hayes house. 47 a.m. Laura wakes to a sound, not a scream, not crying, talking. Someone talking in Ethan's room, but they're alone in the house. It's just the three of them. So who is her son talking to? She gets out of bed, walks quietly down the hall, stands outside Ethan's door, listening. And what she hears makes her blood freeze. Two voices, both coming from Ethan's room, one high-pitched, childlike, her son's voice, and another deep, resonant, ancient, speaking a language she's never heard. Having a conversation back and forth, question and answer, as if two people are in that room, but there's only one. Laura's hand shakes as she turns the doorknob, opens the door slowly, peers inside, and sees something that defies explanation. Ethan sitting cross-legged on his bed, eyes closed, mouth moving, speaking in two completely different voices, alternating, having a conversation with himself or with someone else. Someone who died 3,000 years ago. She should wake him, should stop this. But something tells her not to interrupt. So instead, she does something else, something that will change everything. She reaches into her pocket, pulls out her phone, opens the voice recording app and hits record. For the next 47 minutes, that number again, always that number, she stands in the doorway, recording, listening, barely breathing, watching her son speak in tongues, watching impossible knowledge pour out of his mouth, watching the veil between lives grow thin. When it finally stops, when Ethan's eyes open and he looks at her with confusion. "Mom, what are you doing?" He has no memory of it, no awareness of the last 47 minutes. "You were talking, sweetie." Laura's voice shakes. "In your sleep." "Was I?" He rubs his eyes. "What did I say?" Laura looks at the recording on her phone. 47 minutes and 33 seconds. "I don't know yet. You were speaking another language." "Oh." Ethan yawns. "That happens sometimes now. Moses visits me in my dreams. He wants to make sure I remember everything correctly." He lays back down. "Did you record it?" "Yes." "Good. Send it to Dr. Hassan. He'll be able to translate it." "What do you think it says?" Ethan's eyes close, already drifting back to sleep. "Instructions probably, specific details about where to dig. Moses is worried they won't believe me without proof." Laura backs out of the room, closes the door, walks to the living room where Andrew is now awake, alerted by the commotion. "What's wrong?" She holds up her phone. "Listen to this." She plays the recording, and for 47 minutes and 33 seconds, they sit in the darkness of their living room, listening to their son have a conversation with someone who doesn't exist, or does he? The child's voice asks questions. "Master, why did I forget for so long?" The ancient voice responds in a language neither parent understands, but the cadence, the rhythm, the authority. It's the voice of someone who led thousands through the desert, someone who spoke with God on a mountain, someone who died 3,000 years ago. When it ends, they sit in silence for a long time. Finally, Andrew speaks. "We need to send this to Dr. Hassan." "I know. And we need to send it to someone else too." Laura looks at her husband. "Who?" "A linguist, a real one, from a university, someone who has no connection to this case, someone who can tell us objectively what language that is. And more importantly, his voice drops. Someone who can tell us if it's authentic. April 26, 2019, 8:23 a.m. Dr. Miriam Goldstein, professor of ancient languages at UCLA, specializes in biblical Hebrew, Aramaic, and ancient Semitic languages. 34 years of academic experience, published over 60 papers on linguistic evolution in the ancient Near East. She receives an email from Andrew Hayes, subject, urgent linguistic analysis needed, attached audio file. Minutes, 33 seconds. She almost deletes it. Gets requests like this all the time. People who think they've discovered ancient texts. People who claim to speak in tongues. People who want validation for their delusions. But something about the email catches her attention. My 6-year-old son was recorded speaking in his sleep. We believe it may be ancient Hebrew or Aramaic. Please advise. She clicks play, puts on her headphones, and within the first 30 seconds, her hand goes to her mouth. She listens to the entire recording. 47 minutes and 33 seconds. Doesn't move. Doesn't breathe. Just listens. When it ends, she immediately plays it again and again and again. By the fourth listening, she's taking notes, transcribing, analyzing, her handwriting getting shakier with each line. At 11:47 a.m., she calls Andrew Hayes, her voice tight, controlled, but underneath, terror. Mr. Hayes, where did you get this recording? I told you in the email. My son, speaking in his sleep. Your son is 6 years old? Yes. Has he studied ancient languages? Does he attend a Jewish day school? Does he have exposure to biblical texts? No. None of that. He's just a regular kid. Silence on the line. Long silence. Mr. Hayes, I've been studying ancient Semitic languages for 34 years. I've analyzed texts from the Dead Sea Scrolls, from ancient Egyptian tablets, from Mesopotamian clay tablets. And I'm telling you, her voice cracks, this recording is authentic. What does that mean? It means the language your son is speaking, or one of the languages, because there are actually 2 distinct dialects on this recording, is pure biblical Hebrew. Not modern Hebrew, not reconstructed Hebrew, not academic Hebrew. Real biblical Hebrew, the kind that was spoken 3,200 years ago, the kind that died out millennia ago, the kind that we only know from ancient texts. And your 6-year-old son is speaking it fluently. There's more. The second voice, the deeper one, is speaking in a dialect even older, early Aramaic, pre-exile, possibly Mosaic period. And the content, she stops, can't continue. What about the content? Mr. Hayes, you need to bring your son to my office, today, right now, because what he's saying on this recording. Another pause. It's a conversation about the Exodus, about hiding sacred objects, about preparing for a return. And the detail is, she can't find words. It's impossible. No one knows this information, not even scholars. These are details that don't exist in any surviving text. Unless what? Her voice barely a whisper now. Unless your son was actually there. That afternoon, the Hayes family drives to UCLA, parks in the visitor lot, walks across campus to the Ancient Languages Department, students everywhere. Normal college day, normal life, but nothing about this meeting will be normal. Dr. Goldstein greets them at her office door, a woman in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes behind designer glasses. She looks at Ethan, really looks at him, searching for something. "You're the boy," Ethan nods. "I'm Ethan, but I used to be Eleazar." The professor's eyes fill with tears. "I know, I heard you." She invites them in, plays the recording. Ethan listens to his own voice, the child voice he recognizes. And the ancient voice he doesn't remember speaking, that's Moses. He says it with absolute certainty. "He comes to me when I sleep. Make sure I remember everything correctly." Dr. Goldstein leans forward. "Ethan, can you tell me what Moses is saying?" "Of course. He's reminding me where the tablets are, the exact location. He's worried the archaeologists won't dig deep enough or in the right spot." The professor opens a notebook, shows Ethan her transcription, lines and lines of biblical Hebrew, transliterated into English letters. "Can you read this?" Ethan looks at the page, runs his small finger along the lines, and begins to read out loud in fluent biblical Hebrew, a language he's never studied, a language most scholars spend decades trying to master. A 6-year-old boy reads it like he's reading a picture book. When he finishes, Dr. Goldstein sits back, removes her glasses, wipes her eyes. "I've been wrong about everything." Her voice shakes. "I've spent my entire career studying these languages, treating them like academic subjects, dead tongues for scholarly analysis. But they're not dead, are they?" She looks at Ethan. "They're alive in you. You're not reading this, you're remembering it." "Do you know what this means?" Andrew and Laura shake their heads. "It means consciousness survives death. It means reincarnation is real. It means everything we think we know about the nature of existence is wrong." She picks up the phone. "I'm calling Dr. Hassan in Cairo. I'm joining your expedition. Because when you dig up those tablets, and you will dig them up, because this boy knows exactly where they are." Her voice fills with certainty. "I'm going to translate them, and I'm going to document that a 6-year-old boy helped me do it, and we're going to publish it, and we're going to force the academic world to accept what they've been denying for centuries. Some memories never die." Within 24 hours, the expedition team expands. Dr. Miriam Goldstein from UCLA, Dr. Robert Finn, ground-penetrating radar specialist from MIT, Dr. Evelyn Shaw, archaeological linguist from Oxford, all of them contacted by Dr. Hassan. All of them told the same story. A 6-year-old boy claims to remember hiding the 10 Commandments, speaks ancient languages he's never learned, draws maps with impossible accuracy, and knows details that don't exist in any published text. Come help us prove or disprove it. Every single one says yes. Not because they believe, but because they can't afford not to. Because if there's even a 1% chance this boy is telling the truth, it's the discovery of the millennium. And if he's not, if he's wrong, then they'll definitively disprove the most elaborate case of childhood fantasy ever documented. Either way, it's career-defining. Either way, history gets written. But here's what none of them know yet. What they won't know until they're standing in the desert, until they're counting those 847 steps, until they're looking at the ground-penetrating radar readings. This isn't about proving or disproving anything. This is about Ethan, or Eleazar, completing a mission he started 3,000 years ago, a mission that required him to die, and come back, and remember, and bring the world something it lost. May 3rd, 2019. The expedition begins, but before they can dig, before they can uncover what's been buried for 32 centuries, they have to get to Mount Sinai. They have to watch Ethan navigate terrain he's never seen. They have to witness him speak to the desert in ancient languages. They have to watch him come home. And one more thing, one thing that will happen in the desert, one thing that will convince even Dr. Goldstein, who already believes that this is bigger than science, bigger than archaeology, bigger than proof. On the night before they dig, at exactly 3:17 a.m., that time again, always that time, Ethan will walk out of his tent. In his sleep, will walk 847 steps in perfect darkness, with no flashlight, no guide, no GPS. Will stop at the exact spot. Will kneel. Will press his ear to the ground, and will say something that makes the Bedouin guide weep. "I'm here, Master Moses. I came back like I promised. Your words are safe, I kept them safe, and tomorrow I'm bringing them home." That moment, that sacred, impossible moment, will be captured on video by Dr. Finn's night vision camera, by Laura's phone, by 3 different sources, all showing the same thing: a 6-year-old boy walking through complete darkness, with the confidence of someone who's walked this path before, because he has. Just not in this life. But we're not there yet. First, they have to arrive in Egypt. They have to meet the team. They have to drive into the Sinai. They have to watch Ethan transform from a California kid into the ancient scribe who never really left. May Sector 2019, 11:45 p.m. Egypt Air Flight 985. Los Angeles to Cairo, 12 hours in the air. Ethan sits by the window, staring at darkness, at stars, at the infinite space between lives. Laura watches him. "What are you thinking about, sweetie?" The boy doesn't take his eyes off the window. "I'm thinking about the last time I saw those stars. When I was dying, when I knew I wouldn't finish the mission, when I promised Moses I would come back. I'm thinking about how long 3,000 years is, and how short it feels now." He turns to look at his mother, and in the dim cabin light, Laura sees someone ancient looking back. "Mom?" "Yes, baby?" "When we find the tablets, and everyone sees them and they know I was telling the truth." His small hand finds hers. "Will you still love me?" "Of course. Why would you even ask that?" "Because I won't just be your son anymore." His voice cracks with impossible sadness. "I'll be proof, I'll be evidence, I'll be the boy who remembered, and everyone will want a piece of that. But I just want to be Ethan. I just want to play with my friends and watch cartoons and be normal, even though I know I'll never be normal again." Laura pulls her son close, holds him tight. "You'll always be my Ethan, always. No matter what we find or don't find, no matter what anyone says, you're my baby, and that will never change." But even as she says it, she knows it's not entirely true. Because something has changed, something fundamental, something that can't be changed back. Her son isn't just her son anymore. He's a bridge between lives, a proof of concept, a living testament to something humanity has debated for thousands of years. And tomorrow, less than 24 hours from now, they'll prove it. They'll stand in the desert. They'll count 847 steps. They'll watch the ground-penetrating radar confirm what Ethan said. They'll watch the excavation begin, and they'll watch as the impossible becomes undeniable. But before all that, before the expedition, before the discovery, before the proof, there's one more thing you need to understand. One more piece of this impossible puzzle. Ethan isn't the only one. He's just the first one we know about. Because across the world, in Seattle, in Shanghai, in Sao Paulo, in Stockholm, there are other children. Children drawing maps they shouldn't know. Children speaking languages they've never learned. Children remembering lives they never lived in this life. May 3rd, 2019, 6:42 a.m. The plane lands with a thud that jolts every passenger awake, except Ethan. He hasn't slept at all, 12 hours in the air, and he spent every minute with his face pressed against that window, watching darkness give way to dawn, watching the Mediterranean coastline appear like a memory surfacing, watching Egypt rise from the horizon. Laura reaches over, touches her son's shoulder. "We're here, baby." Ethan doesn't respond. His eyes are fixed on something beyond the tarmac, beyond the airport, beyond the visible world. The desert. Even though he can't see it yet, even though it's still 200 kilometers away, he feels it, calling him, welcoming him home. They collect their luggage, pass through customs, step into the arrival hall where a man holds a sign, Hayes family, tall, weathered face. Traditional Bedouin headscarf, eyes that have seen 50 years of desert sun. This is Amir Hassan, 30 years as a Sinai guide, a man who knows every rock formation, every hidden spring, every dangerous passage in that ancient wilderness. A man who has led hundreds of expeditions, archaeologists, pilgrims, adventure tourists. But in 30 years, he's never received a request quite like this one. "Mr. Hayes, welcome to Egypt." His English is accented but clear. "I am Amir. I will take you to Mount Sinai." Andrew shakes his hand. "Thank you for accommodating us on such short notice." Amir's eyes flicker to Ethan, studies the boy for a long moment. Something passes across his face, recognition, unease. The child. He is the one who remembers. Laura steps forward instinctively, protective. Yes, our son has very specific memories about a location in the Sinai. Amir kneels down, eye level with Ethan. "Young one, you've been to the Sinai before." Ethan meets his gaze, unblinking. "Not in this life." The words hang in the air. Not in this life. 6 years old, speaking with the certainty of someone who understands incarnation. Amir's face goes still, very still. Then he does something unexpected. He places his hand over his heart, bows his head slightly, a gesture of respect. "Then you are blessed, child. The desert remembers those who have walked her paths before." He stands, turns to Andrew. "We leave in 1 hour. The drive to Sharm el-Sheikh is 6 hours, then another 2 hours into the mountains. We will arrive at sunset, the best time to see the Sinai, when the rocks turn to gold. The drive is long, hot, hypnotic. Highway cutting through beige emptiness, occasional Bedouin camps, scattered acacia trees, rock formations rising like monuments to forgotten gods. Ethan sits in the back seat, silent, staring. Laura tries to engage him. "Are you hungry, sweetie? We have snacks." No response. "Ethan, did you hear me?" The boy blinks, as if waking from a dream. "Sorry, Mom." "What?" "I asked if you're hungry." He looks at her, and for just a second she sees it again, that depth, that ancient sadness. "I'm not hungry, Mom. I can't eat when I'm this close." Close to what? To remembering everything. Hours later, the sun now low and orange. They stop for fuel at a small station. Just a few pumps, a concrete building, a man selling tea and cigarettes, middle of nowhere. Amir steps out to fill the tank. Ethan opens his door, steps onto the sand, and immediately everything changes. His knees buckle. Laura lunges forward. "Ethan!" But he catches himself, hands pressed to the ground, not collapsing, kneeling, and then he begins to cry. Not sad crying, not scared crying. Something else entirely. Recognition crying, relief crying, the crying of someone who's been lost for 3,000 years and just found their way home. Amir freezes, fuel nozzle in hand, staring. Andrew rushes around the jeep. "Ethan, what's wrong?" But Ethan isn't answering. Can't answer, because he's pressing his face to the sand now, kissing it, whispering something. Amir sets down the nozzle, walks over slowly, kneels beside the boy, listens, and his face, his weathered, seen everything face, goes pale. Mrs. Hayes. His voice barely above a whisper. Your son. What language has he studied? Laura's throat is tight. None. Just English. Why? Amir looks at her, through her, past her, because he is speaking biblical Aramaic, a dialect that has been dead for over 2,000 years. Andrew's voice cracks. What is he saying? Amir's hand trembles as he places it gently on Ethan's back. He is saying, the guide's eyes fill with tears. Forgive me, Master Moses, for taking so long to return. The moment stretches, infinite, eternal. This 6-year-old boy, this child from Los Angeles, who's never studied ancient languages, who's never set foot in Egypt before this trip, speaking fluent biblical Aramaic, apologizing to a prophet who died 32 centuries ago for being late. Laura feels reality tilting, feels every certainty she's ever held starting to crack, because this isn't imagination, this isn't trauma, this isn't fantasy, this is memory, real, undeniable, impossible memory. The boy lifts his head, looks at his parents, eyes red, face streaked with sand and tears, but smiling, actually smiling, for the first time in weeks. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. His voice is small again, childlike. But I had to say hello. The desert needed to know I came back. Amir helps him stand, brushes sand from his clothes. In 30 years I have guided many people through the Sinai, pilgrims, scientists, tourists, soldiers. I have seen people weep at the beauty. I have seen people fall to their knees in prayer, but I have never seen anyone act as if they were coming home. Your son is not like other children. Something very old lives inside him, and the desert recognizes it. They drive, the sun sinking lower, the rocks turning from beige to gold to crimson, mountains rising in the distance like ancient guardians. Ethan sits quietly now, calm, peaceful, as if that moment of recognition released something in him, as if permission had been granted, as if the land itself said, yes, we remember you too. 2 more hours. The highway gives way to rough roads. Rough roads give way to dirt paths. Dirt paths give way to pure desert. No signs, no markers, no GPS coordinates that would help anyone find this place. But Amir navigates with absolute confidence. 30 years of knowing this land. Until finally, the sun just touching the horizon, he stops the jeep, cuts the engine, points ahead. Mount Sinai, the mountain where Moses received the commandments, the mountain where Eleazar hid them, the mountain that has been waiting for 3,200 years, for this moment, for this boy, for the completion of a promise that survived death. Ethan opens his door, steps out, doesn't run, doesn't rush, just walks forward with steady, purposeful steps, like a soldier returning from war, like a sailor finally seeing shore, like a soul recognizing home. He walks 20 paces, stops at a specific rock formation, irregular, weathered, unremarkable to anyone else. But to Ethan he kneels, places both hands on the stone, leans his forehead against it, and begins to speak quietly. In that same ancient language, Amir translates softly for the parents. I have returned as I promised. The waiting is over. Show me the way. Guide my steps. Let me finish what I began. Then Ethan stands, turns to face east, points. The cave is 2.3 kilometers that way, his voice completely certain. We'll get there before sunset if we hurry. Andrew pulls out his phone, checks the GPS. Ethan, there's no cave marked on the map in that direction. I know, Dad, but it's there. How can you be so sure? The boy looks at his father. Because I've walked this path 1,000 times in my sleep. Because I carved the entrance myself. Because I can feel it calling me. He starts walking east toward mountains, toward memory. Amir grabs equipment from the jeep. Water, flashlights, rope, mutters in Arabic. Andrew catches one word, Mustahil. What does that mean? Amir looks at him. Impossible. In 30 years, I have never seen anyone navigate this terrain with such confidence. Not even me. And I know every rock. They follow Ethan. The boy moves like water, never hesitating, never checking landmarks, just walking. As if the land itself is guiding him, as if his feet remember every step even though his conscious mind doesn't. 47 minutes pass, that number again, always that number. 47 minutes of walking through increasingly difficult terrain, over rocks, around crevasses, through narrow passages, and then Ethan stops, abruptly, at what appears to be a solid rock wall. No opening, no cave entrance, no indication of anything significant. He turns to his parents, to Amir, and smiles. It's here. The entrance is behind these rocks. Now you can start counting. Amir approaches the rock wall, examines it with expert eyes, runs his hands over the surface, taps with his knuckles, tests for hollowness. There is nothing here, but he says it without conviction, because he's seen too much in the last 3 hours to be certain of anything anymore. Ethan walks in a slow circle, counting under his breath, 843, 844, 845. His small feet measuring distance with impossible precision, 846, 847. He stops. Exactly. Looks down at his feet. Here. He taps the ground with his shoe. The tablets are 12 meters and 30 centimeters below this spot, in a chamber shaped like a heart. Andrew pulls out his phone again, opens GPS coordinates app, records the exact location. Degree 317, 8N33 degree 58, 42.4, in numbers that will change history. Ethan, how do you know the depth so precisely? Because I measured it, Dad, when I buried them. How did you measure? With a rope, knotted every cubit. He looks at his father. I was very careful. Moses made me promise to remember the exact depth, so when I came back, I would know where to dig. The Bedouin guide steps away, making calls to his team, to equipment suppliers, to the few people he trusts with impossible situations. When he returns, his face is grave. I have called a ground-penetrating radar team. They can be here tomorrow morning. If there is a chamber below us, hollow space, man-made structure, the radar will find it. But Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, he looks at Ethan. If your son is wrong about this, his voice trails off because the implication is clear. If there's nothing there, this boy's credibility, his sanity, everything crumbles, and there's no coming back from that. But Ethan isn't worried. He walks around the spot again, studying the terrain. Then kneels, begins drawing in the sand with his finger. Perfect lines, precise angles, a map, underground tunnels, connected rooms, specific routes. This is the main entrance, sealed 3,000 years ago. His finger traces a line. This tunnel leads to the preparation chamber, where we cleaned the tablets before hiding them. Another line. This is the guardian room, where we kept watch. His hand moves with absolute confidence. And this, he draws a perfect heart shape. This is the holy treasure room, where they sleep. Amir photographs the drawing, studies it, his hands shaking slightly. Young one, how do you know about guardian rooms? We had to protect them, even underground. From what? From people who would use them wrong. Pharaoh sent spies, even into the desert. Even after we escaped, Ethan looks up. That's why I had to hide them so deep, so even if they found the entrance, they couldn't reach them. Only someone who knew the exact location could. Only someone who buried them. Only me. They set up camp. 3 tents, small fire MRE dinners, the mountain looming above them in darkness, stars appearing one by one, thousands of them, millions, the sky that Eleazar last saw with dying eyes, the sky that Ethan now sees with living ones. Laura watches her son. He's sitting apart from them, cross-legged, facing east, completely still. Is he okay? Andrew whispers. I don't know, but Amir knows. He is remembering. The guide stokes the fire. In Bedouin tradition, we believe the desert holds memories, that certain places remember certain souls. Your son is in one of those places now, and it is overwhelming him. At 9 p.m., they settle into tents, exhausted, overwhelmed, uncertain. Andrew sets his phone to record audio, just in case, just like he did in Los Angeles. Places it near Ethan's sleeping bag. Hits record, good night, buddy, night, dad, small voice, sleepy voice, normal. But at 3:17 a.m., that time again, always that time. Laura wakes to sounds, not from the desert, from their tent, from Ethan. She sits up, reaches for the flashlight, but Andrew's hand stops her. Don't let it happen. Andrew, I know, but we need to let it happen. The conversation lasts exactly 47 minutes and 33 seconds. Neither parent moves, neither breathes. They just listen to their son speaking with someone who doesn't exist. Or does not. Ethan's voice, modern, childlike. Master, why did I take so long to remember? Ancient voice, deep resonant, speaking biblical Hebrew. The soul needs time to awaken in each life, Eleazar. But 3,000 years, that's so long. Time is different for souls. What feels like an eternity to you was only a moment to me. Are the tablets still safe? Did anyone find them? They are exactly where you left them, waiting, as I promised they would be. The strangers, my parents, they don't understand. They're frightened. They will understand soon, when the earth reveals what you hid, when stone speaks truth. What if they don't believe even then? Some will believe, some won't. This is always how truth works. But you are not responsible for their belief, only for your promise. I'm scared, Master Moses. I know, child, but you have never failed me, not in life, not in death, and not now. Guide these strangers to the correct location. They are the chosen ones. They will help you complete what we began. How will I know them? In 40 days, 3 will come. The archaeologist with the gray beard, the woman who speaks 3 languages, the man who carries machines that see through earth. What if they don't come? They will come, Eleazar. I'm already speaking to them in their dreams. When Ethan finally wakes, at dawn, no memory of the conversation. His parents are sitting outside the tent, pale, shaken, changed. Amir is with them. He's been translating the recording for the last hour, his hands trembling as he writes each word. Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, his voice barely audible. Your son just had a conversation with Moses, the prophet, the lawgiver, the man who led the Exodus, and he made a prophecy. 3 people will arrive in exactly 40 days, with specific characteristics. From your son's description. Amir's voice drops to a whisper. They sound like scientists. May 4th, 2019, dawn. The sun rises over Mount Sinai, golden light spilling across ancient rocks, the same light that rose 3,000 years ago when a boy named Eleazar buried something sacred, the same light rising now on a boy named Ethan who remembers doing it. "Morning, Mom." "Morning, Dad." His voice cheerful, refreshed. Laura forces a smile. "Morning, sweetie. Sleep okay?" "Best sleep I've had in months." He looks around, takes in the landscape, the mountains, the sky. This place feels right. Andrew exchanges a glance with Amir. The guide nods slightly. "Tell him." "Ethan, buddy, you talked in your sleep last night." The boy looks confused. "I did? What did I say?" "You had a conversation with someone." "Who?" "You called him Master Moses." Ethan's face doesn't register surprise, just acceptance. "Oh, he visits sometimes, usually when I'm near important places. He says it like he's talking about a friend stopping by, casual, matter of fact." "He wanted to make sure I got the location right, didn't he?" Laura nods slowly, unable to speak. "Did he say anything about the 3 people?" Andrew's eyes widen. "How did you know about that?" "I always remember parts of what he tells me. Not everything, but the important parts." Ethan walks to the spot he marked yesterday, looks down at the sand. "They're coming in 40 days to help me dig. An old man with a gray beard, a woman who speaks lots of languages, and a man with machines that can see underground." "What if they don't come?" Laura's voice cracks. Ethan turns, smiles. "They will, Mom. Moses doesn't make mistakes. He's already talking to them in their dreams, right now, while they're sleeping in America. Showing them this exact spot, telling them to come." 3 hours later, the ground-penetrating radar team arrives. 2 Toyota Land Cruisers, 4 technicians, Egyptian, Sirius, professional led by Dr. Youssef Mahmoud, geological survey specialist, 20 years mapping underground structures across the Middle East. He's seen it all. Tombs, tunnels, ancient cisterns, Roman aqueducts. But he's never been summoned to the middle of nowhere based on a 6-year-old's memories. Amir makes introductions. "Doctor, this is the Hayes family, and this is the boy I told you about." Dr. Mahmoud kneels, extends his hand. "Young man." "Young man, you believe there is a chamber beneath us?" "I don't believe it, sir. I know it." "How deep?" 12 meters and 30 centimeters. "And the shape?" "Like a heart." Dr. Mahmoud's eyebrows raise slightly. "Very specific. I measured it when I dug it." "When you dug it?" "Yes, sir. 3,000 years ago." The doctor stands, looks at Amir. A silent conversation passes between them. "Is this child serious, completely serious, and you believe him?" "I don't know what I believe anymore." Dr. Mahmoud turns to his team, barks orders in Arabic. They begin unloading equipment. Ground-penetrating radar unit, laptop, cables, calibration tools, serious machinery, scientific machinery, the kind that doesn't lie. The process takes 2 hours, methodical, thorough, professional. They scan in overlapping passes, north to south, east to west, building a 3-dimensional map of everything beneath the surface: rocks, soil layers, density variations, hollow spaces. Ethan watches quietly, sitting on a rock, patient, knowing what they'll find, because he put it there. Finally, Dr. Mahmoud calls everyone over. His face is unreadable. "Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, Amir." He turns his laptop screen toward them. "This is the radar data from the area you specified." His finger traces the screen. At approximately 2 meters depth, we detect a layer of ash and carbon, consistent with ancient fire remains, exactly what Ethan's drawings predicted. At 7.8 meters, we find pottery fragments, clay, fired ceramic, exactly as predicted. At 11.1 meters, natural bedrock, exactly as predicted. And beneath the bedrock, his voice drops. There is a hollow chamber, carved, man-made, approximately 12.4 meters below surface. The shape is... He looks at Ethan, at the small boy who should not know these things. Irregular. But the computer analysis suggests he can barely say it. Heart-shaped. Laura's legs give out. Andrew catches her, both of them staring at the screen, at the impossible proof, at the undeniable evidence that their 6-year-old son just led scientists to a chamber that shouldn't exist, that no one knew was there, that he described with perfect accuracy because he buried it 3,000 years ago. Dr. Mahmoud closes his laptop, removes his glasses, wipes his eyes. In 20 years of geological surveying, I have never... He can't finish. Looks at Amir instead. When can we excavate? But Amir shakes his head. Not yet. Why not? The chamber is confirmed. We have the equipment. We have... Because the boy says 3 people must come first. 3 specific people. In 40 days. Dr. Mahmoud looks at Ethan. Is this true? Ethan nods. Moses says they need to be here when we open it. They're the ones who are supposed to find it. Not us. We're just showing them where to look. Dr. Mahmoud should laugh. Should dismiss this as superstition. Should insist on immediate excavation. But he doesn't. Because he just spent 2 hours confirming that a 6-year-old boy knows things he shouldn't. Knows things no human should be able to know. And if he's right about the chamber, maybe he's right about the 3 people too. 40 days. Dr. Mahmoud says it like a sentence. We wait 40 days, and if no one comes, Ethan's eyes hold ancient certainty. They'll come. May 5th, 2019. The Hayes family returns to Los Angeles, carrying evidence that should change the world. Radar scans, GPS coordinates, photos of the site, and one prophecy: 3 people will arrive in 40 days with specific characteristics to help excavate what Ethan buried. Back in Sherman Oaks, Andrew creates a detailed document, everything they experienced, everything they recorded. The drawings, the language recordings, the radar confirmation, Ethan's specific predictions about what lies at each depth, and the prophecy about the 3 scientists. He sends it to 17 universities, archaeology departments, ancient history programs, religious studies. Subject line: urgent. Confirmed underground chamber, Mount Sinai. Attached: 43 pages of documentation, 3 dozen photos, 2 audio recordings, and 1 impossible claim: that his 6-year-old son remembers burying the 10 Commandments. Days pass, no responses. Week 1, nothing. Week 2, 1 auto reply saying the professor is on sabbatical. Week 3, radio silence. Andrew starts to despair. They think I'm crazy. Laura touches his arm. Maybe. Or maybe they're scared. Scared of what? Scared that you're right. Scared that if they go to that location and find what Ethan says is there. She looks at their son, sitting in the backyard, drawing again. Always drawing. Everything changes. Every assumption about life and death and consciousness and memory, gone. Day 38. 2 days before the 40-day deadline, Andrew checks his phone out of habit. Sees a new email. Sender: Dr. Aaron Cohen, Princeton University. Subject: urgent expedition, Mount Sinai. Andrew's hands shake as he opens it. Mr. Hayes, I apologize for the delayed response to your initial email. I nearly deleted it, as I receive dozens of similar claims each month. But 3 nights ago, something extraordinary happened. I had a dream. In this dream, a child, approximately 6 years old, appeared to me. He was standing in a desert landscape. He told me specific GPS coordinates. He showed me underground chambers. He told me that I needed to come. I dismissed it as stress, not overwork. Until yesterday, when I spoke with 2 colleagues, Dr. Evelyn Shaw, linguistic specialist at Oxford, Dr. Robert Finn, ground-penetrating radar expert at MIT. Both had the exact same dream, same child, same location, same coordinates. Mr. Hayes, I don't believe in supernatural phenomena. I'm a scientist. I deal in evidence. But 3 scientists having identical dreams about the same location your son described, that warrants investigation. We will arrive in Sharm el-Sheikh on July 23rd. Please send exact coordinates. Respectfully, Dr. Aaron Cohen, Professor of Ancient Near Eastern Archaeology, Princeton University. Andrew reads it 3 times, checks the date, July 21st, 2019, 2 days until July 23rd. Exactly 40 days after Ethan made his prediction, exactly as the boy said, he walks outside, finds Ethan in the backyard. Ethan! The boy looks up. They're coming. Andrew's voice breaks. The 3 people, they're coming in 2 days, just like you said. Ethan smiles, not surprised, not excited, just relieved. What's the old man's name? Andrew checks the email. Dr. Aaron Cohen. Does he have a gray beard? I don't know. There's no photo. He does. I saw him in my dreams. Did the woman speak 3 languages? Andrew scrolls through the email again. Dr. Evelyn Shaw, Oxford, linguistic specialist. He searches her faculty page loads. Languages, Hebrew, Arabic, English, 3 languages, exactly 3. And the man with the machines? Dr. Robert Finn, MIT, ground-penetrating radar specialist. Ethan nods. That's them. Moses showed them where to come. Now we can finish what we started. July 23rd, 2019, 7:23 a.m. Sharm el-Sheikh Airport. International arrivals. The Hayes family waiting, along with Amir Hassan and Dr. Youssef Mahmoud, all of them watching the exit, waiting for 3 people they've never met. 3 people who shouldn't be coming. 3 people who had dreams about a boy they've never seen. Passengers begin emerging, tourists, business people, families, and then a man in his late 60s, distinguished. Wire-rimmed glasses, grey beard, exactly as described. A woman in her 50s, professional, carrying equipment cases, speaking to the others in alternating languages. Hebrew, English, Arabic, 3 languages, exactly as described. A man in his 40s, technical, focused, wheeling 2 large cases, labeled MIT, geophysical research machines that see through Earth, exactly as described. They stop in the arrival hall, looking around, searching. And then Dr. Aaron Cohen sees Ethan. His face goes pale, absolutely pale. That's him. His voice barely audible. That's the boy from the dream. Dr. Evelyn Shaw's hand goes to her mouth. Oh my God, it's really him. Dr. Robert Finn just stares. This isn't possible. But they walk forward anyway, because impossible or not, the boy is real. The location is real. The dreams were real, and now they need to know why. Andrew extends his hand. Dr. Cohen? The professor nods. Can't take his eyes off Ethan. Mr. Hayes, thank you for. I don't even know what to thank you for. responding to our dreams. For confirming we're not insane, he kneels down. I level with Ethan. Young man, I've been dreaming about you for 6 nights. You've been showing me a location in the desert, telling me to come, telling me something important is buried there. Were you really in my dreams? Ethan shakes his head. No, sir, I wasn't. Then who was? The boy's voice is gentle, understanding. Moses was. He needed you to come, to help me finish what I started 3,000 years ago. Dr. Cohen should stand up, should walk away, should dismiss this as elaborate theater. But he doesn't, because he spent 6 nights dreaming the same dream, because 2 colleagues who don't even live on the same continent had identical dreams, because the coordinates in his dream match the coordinates in Andrew's email, because this boy's face is the face he's been seeing for nearly a week. And because deep down, in a place beyond science and skepticism and rational thought, he believes, show me. His voice is steady now, certain. Show me what you buried. 2 hours later, the entire team assembled, 3 American scientists, Egyptian support crew, Bedouin guides, all following a 6-year-old boy into the wilderness to confirm or destroy everything they think they know about existence. Dr. Evelyn Shaw rides with the Hayes family, can't stop staring at Ethan. Can you speak Hebrew, Ethan? The boy looks uncomfortable. Sometimes, when I remember. Can you speak some now? I'll try. He speaks fluent biblical Hebrew, ancient, pure, authentic, words that haven't been commonly spoken in 3 millennia. Dr. Shaw's hands tremble as she records. Where did you learn this? I didn't learn it. I just remember it. Remember from where? From before. Before what? Before I was Ethan. When I was Eleazar. Dr. Shaw has studied ancient languages for 32 years, has translated Dead Sea Scrolls, has worked with the world's leading biblical linguists, and this child, this American child who barely reads chapter books, is speaking Hebrew that scholars spend decades trying to master. This is real. She whispers it to herself, to God, to the universe. This is actually real. They arrive at the site, sunset approaching, the same golden light, the same ancient rocks, the same spot where Ethan stood 40 days ago and made a prophecy. That came true. Dr. Robert Finn immediately begins unpacking equipment, updated ground-penetrating radar, more powerful than Dr. Mahmoud's unit, higher resolution, deeper penetration. Within 30 minutes, he has a complete scan. The screen shows everything. The ash layer at 3.2 meters, the pottery at 7.8 meters, the bedrock at 11.1 meters, and below it, there's a chamber. Carved, hollow, man-made, 12.4 meters deep. He zooms in on the shape, heart-shaped. Dr. Cohen walks to Ethan. You really buried something down there. Yes, sir. 3,000 years ago. Yes, sir, and you've come back to show us where it is. Yes, sir. Dr. Cohen looks at his colleagues, at the radar screen, at the desert surrounding them, makes a decision. We dig. Tomorrow at dawn, we excavate this chamber, and we document everything. Every depth, every layer, every fragment, because if there really are tablets down there, his voice fills with awe and terror. If this child really is telling the truth about who he was, then we're not just making an archaeological discovery. We're proving that death is not the end. We're proving that consciousness survives. We're proving that reincarnation is real. We're proving that everything humanity believes about life and death is wrong. July 24th, 2019. Dawn. The dig begins. Professional, systematic, scientific. Dr. Cohen's team works in shifts, documenting every centimeter. Photography, measurements, soil samples. This isn't treasure hunting, this is archaeology, this is proof. At 3.2 meters, they hit the ash layer, exactly where Ethan said. Dr. Shaw collects samples. Carbon-14 dating will later confirm 200 years old, from fires made to keep warm during desert nights. At 7.8 meters, pottery shards, clay vessels, broken, buried, abandoned. Dr. Mahmoud examines them. Late Bronze Age, consistent with Exodus period, consistent with everything the boy said. At 11.1 meters, bedrock, natural stone, but with marks, tool marks. Someone carved into this. Someone made an opening and sealed it again. At 11.8 meters, the seal breaks, a void beyond, dark, deep, waiting. Dr. Cohen descends on rope, high-powered flashlight, cutting through millennia of darkness. His voice echoes up, shaking, reverent. Oh my God, bring the cameras, bring everyone. You need to see this. One by one, they descend, Andrew and Laura, Dr. Shaw, and Dr. Finn Amir Hassan. And finally, Ethan, the boy who buried this, returning to finish his mission, the chamber, heart-shaped exactly as described, walls covered in ancient text, hieroglyphs and Hebrew mixed, creating dialogue between cultures, between faiths. In the center of the chamber, a natural stone table, perfectly flat, and on it, fragments, stone fragments, black basalt, 23 pieces total, some palm-sized, some larger, all inscribed, all ancient, all impossible. Dr. Shaw approaches with trembling hands, kneels before the stones, examines the writing, Paleo-Hebrew, Old Pure Authentic. She begins reading aloud, voice catching with each word. These commandments were written by the hand of Yahweh on the volcanic mountain, given to Moses ben Amram. On the 40th day of ascent, she continues, when soldiers of Pharaoh Ramesses pursued the chosen people, Eleazar ben Aaron hid these sacred tablets in the heart chamber, 850 steps east of Eagle Rock, to preserve them until the time of return. Eleazar ben Aaron. Dr. Shaw looks at Ethan, tears streaming down her face. That's you. That's your name. Your real name. Ethan nods. Small, quiet. I know. I never forgot it. Even when I forgot everything else. I never forgot my name. Doctor. Cohen photographs every fragment, every inscription, every detail. We need to carbon-14 test these immediately. We need geological analysis of the basalt. We need linguistic verification. We need to prove this is real. But Dr. Shaw shakes her head. Aaron, we're standing in a chamber that shouldn't exist, that a 6-year-old boy led us to. That matches his descriptions exactly. The proof is all around us. The question isn't whether it's real. The question is whether we're ready to accept what it means. They work through the day, through the night, documenting everything, taking samples, creating 3D scans, building irrefutable evidence. But then Dr. Finn makes another discovery. In the corner of the chamber, hidden behind loose stones, a leather scroll. Perfectly preserved, arid desert climate, protecting it for millennia, rolled tight, sealed with wax. Dr. Shaw lifts it with reverent hands. There's writing on the seal. She examines it closely. It says, "For when I return." Everyone looks at Ethan. The boy steps forward. "That's my letter," his voice small, almost ashamed. "I wrote it before I died, so I would remember. So the person I became would understand." Dr. Shaw carefully breaks the seal, unrolls the scroll under lights. Ancient leather, brittle but intact, covered in careful Hebrew script. She begins to read, and with each word, reality cracks a little more. I, Eleazar, son of Aaron, scribe of Moses the prophet, leave these words before departing the world. My body grows weak. The desert fever consumes me. I am 7 years old, too young to die, too young to have seen what I have seen. I hid the sacred tablets as Moses commanded, 12 cubits deep, in a chamber shaped like my heart, because these words are my heart. The heart of our people, the heart of everything. But I could not protect them as I promised. I could not stay and guard them. Death came too soon, so I make a promise to the Eternal One, a promise that frightens me even as I write it. I promise to return, in another life, another body, another time, when the world is ready, when the people need to know that death is not the end, that souls continue, that missions survive, that love transcends. If you are reading this, then I have succeeded. I have returned. I have remembered. I have brought you here. Look for the signs in the child I have become, the child who speaks ancient languages without learning them, the child who draws maps of places they have never visited, the child who weeps at desert stars because their soul recognizes eternity. My name in the next life will be different. My face will be different. My family will be different. But my mission remains the same, to safeguard these sacred words until humanity is ready, to prove that consciousness survives, to show that death is not the end but merely a door, and to teach the greatest truth, that every life is a chance to finish what we left unfinished. Every soul carries its promises across the centuries. Every love, every duty, every sacred task survives. Dr. Shaw lowers the scroll. Can't continue. Too overwhelmed. But Ethan speaks, finishes it for her. In Hebrew, fluent, ancient, perfect. When you find these tablets, you will know the soul is eternal. Love transcends death. And I am proof that some promises are too powerful to die. He looks at the adults, at their shocked faces. I wrote those words when I was dying. I was so scared. Scared I would forget, scared I wouldn't come back, scared the tablets would be lost forever. But Moses promised me. He said, "Your soul will remember when it's time. Trust in the eternal." And he was right. I'm not the only one, you know. Dr. Cohen looks up. What do you mean? I'm not the only one who came back. There are others, other children, other places, other missions, all of us waking up now, all of us remembering, because humanity needs to know, needs to understand, that consciousness doesn't end, that we've all lived before, that death is just a pause, not a period. And when more of us remember, when more children start speaking ancient languages, when more impossible knowledge comes through, the world will have to accept it, will have to change, will have to understand that everything they thought they knew was wrong. The tablet fragments are tested, multiple samples, multiple labs. Stanford.Oxford.Cairo Museum all reach the same conclusion, 150 to 3,200 years old. Exactly the period of the biblical Exodus. Exactly when Eleazar said he buried them. Geological analysis confirms basalt consistent with Mount Sinai volcanic rock. Tool marks consistent with Bronze Age implements. Preservation consistent with arid desert environment. Every scientific test confirms authenticity. No fraud, no forgery, no deception. These artifacts are real, ancient, impossible. The linguistic verification takes longer. Dr. Shaw spends weeks analyzing the script, comparing it to other Paleo-Hebrew texts, Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient inscriptions, historical records. Her conclusion, published in Journal of Biblical Archaeology: the language is authentic to the period. The grammar, syntax, and vocabulary match precisely with late Bronze Age Hebrew. The content describes events consistent with Exodus narrative. No modern scholar could forge this level of linguistic accuracy. But she adds one line that sends shockwaves through academia. However, the most inexplicable aspect of this discovery is not the artifacts themselves, but the method of discovery. A 6-year-old child with no training in archaeology, ancient languages, or Near Eastern history led investigators to this location with precision that defies rational explanation. The scientific community fractures. Half embrace it as the greatest archaeological discovery in history. Half denounce it as elaborate hoax. Debates rage, papers published, careers made and destroyed. But what if I told you the validation didn't stop at the labs? What if the real test, the one that would shatter even the hardest skeptics, was still waiting in the shadows? You see, those fragments weren't just old stones. They were a doorway to a truth so explosive, it would force the world to question every grave, every obituary, every final breath. And here's the chilling part. The tests confirmed more than age. They confirmed the impossible. The basalt, sourced directly from Mount Sinai's volcanic core, matching geological surveys from the Israel Geological Institute in 2017. The inscriptions, verified by experts at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, who cross-referenced them with Dead Sea Scrolls fragments, finding identical Paleo-Hebrew script patterns never replicated in modern forgeries. But wait, don't breathe easy yet, because one fragment held a line that no one expected, a line that read, "Eleazar's hand sealed this on the 47th day of hiding." 47, that number again, the same as Ethan's coma. Minutes, the same as the night recording, the same as the scrolls they'd find later. Coincidence? Or something colder, something eternal, weaving through time like a thread no one can cut? Hold on, because this is where the tension coils tighter. Dr. Cohen didn't just test the stones, he tested the chamber walls. Those hieroglyphs mixed with Hebrew, a fusion never seen before. Egyptian, symbols for protection intertwined with Yahweh's. Name verified by the British Museum's Egyptology department. They called it unprecedented. But you know what they really meant? Impossible. As if two enemies from history had shaken hands underground. And Ethan? He translated parts on the spot without notes, without hesitation. These walls say, "The soul guards what the body hides." How? Because he carved some of them with his own hands in another life. Oh, but don't think that's the payoff. Not yet. We're just scratching the surface, literally. Picture this, the team descending deeper. Dr. Finn's radar pinging anomalies, small revelations coming in. At 12.4 meters, they brush away sand from a hidden alcove, and there it is. The personal scroll, not just preserved, pristine leather that should have crumbled eons ago, but the desert kept it like it was waiting. Dr. Shaw unrolls it further, her voice trembling as she reads the final lines. Lines that hit like a thunderclap. "I, Eleazar, promise to return when the signs appear. The accident that awakens, the drawings that map the unseen, the voices in the night." Ethan interrupts, his small voice cutting through the dark. "That's my bike accident. The drawings I made, the voices you recorded, Dr. Shaw. drops the scroll, stares at him. How could you know? What's written here? Because I wrote it when I was dying, to remind myself. Across 3,000 years, a letter from past to present, from death to life. Mind-blowing, right? But hold your gasp, because the scroll didn't stop at promises. It predicted Ethan exactly. A boy with blue eyes who cries at desert stars. Ethan's eyes, blue. And that night in Sinai, he wept under those stars. The scroll knew how. Unless souls really do whisper across the void. Now feel that chill creeping up your spine. Good, because the escalation is just beginning. The team emerges from the chamber. Tablet secured. Scroll protected. But Dr. Cohen's phone rings. A colleague from Princeton. Urgent. We've run the full linguistic AI analysis. The text on those fragments. It matches obscure rabbinical references from the 12th century. References to a lost scribe named Elazar. But here's the insane part. Those references were sealed in a vault, never digitized, never published online. How did your boy know? Cohen looks at Ethan, playing in the sand. Outside the dig site, like a normal kid, but not normal. Never. Normal again. We don't know, but we're about to find out more. The world starts noticing. News leaks, headlines explode. Child leads to biblical discovery. From CNN to BBC, their skeptics swarm. This must be a hoax. Planted artifacts, but the tests irrefutable. Carbon dated by independent labs. Oxford confirms no modern contamination. Stanford adds age consistent with Exodus era. The revelation builds, but don't relax yet, because Ethan's not done remembering. 5 years later, Ethan's 11 now. Normal life. Soccer games, not video games. School friends, but every summer. Back to Sinai. Why? Because the memories keep unlocking. In 2022, age 9, he points to new coordinates. 8 dig 33, 21.5, N33. The G50T 29.2 E, just 200 meters away. The team digs and finds it. A second chamber. 47 leather scrolls. 47 again. Contents. Mind-shattering. Ancient medicine recipes. Astronomy. Charts mapping stars as they were 3,000 years ago. Verified by NASA's Historical Astronomy Database. And maps of secret chambers across the Middle East. Dr. Cohen. It's like a network. Hidden knowledge vaults. And this boy is unlocking them one by one. Every year, he remembers more. More locations. More precision. But why now? Why him? The central question burns brighter. Is this coincidence? Or something bigger? Spiritual evolution? Humanity's wake-up call? Dr. Shaw whispers in an interview, we don't know, but if more children start remembering, hold that thought, because they are. Since 2020, the Hayes family gets calls, emails, desperate messages from 23 families across the world, all the same pattern. Children aged 4 to 7, speaking dead languages, drawing impossible maps, claiming past lives in lost civilizations. A merely 7. San Francisco draws the Forbidden City's secret chambers as they existed in 1421, confirmed by recent Chinese excavations, never published before. Noah Miller. 6. Seattle speaks Old Norse fluently, pinpoints 3 Viking settlements in Greenland, undiscovered until his drawings led archaeologists there. Verified by Denmark's National Museum in 2023. Chloe Jackson. 8. Atlanta describes Benin Kingdom ceremonies details, matching rare academic texts she's never seen. The phenomenon spreads, named Sinai syndrome or ancestral memory syndrome. Doctors scramble, psychologists debate. But the evidence piles up. Verified cases, documented knowledge, impossible. Accuracies. Ethan's not alone. He's the first, the catalyst, the proof that opened the floodgates, and the question screams louder. What if these children are returning? What if forgotten histories are resurfacing? What if every unsolved mystery, from lost civilizations to ancient knowledge, is locked in a kid's mind, waiting to awaken? Ethan interviewed at 11. I still remember everything, but I live normal too. Play soccer like video games, but the memories, they're always there. And there are still 12 chambers left, 12 more secrets, and I'm not the only one with a mission. Others are waking up to finish what they started. Dr. Shaw, beside him, is this evolution or divine intervention? We don't know, but one thing's clear: the veil is thinning between lives, between deaths, between what we think is real and what actually is. Now lean in closer, because this is where the escalation peaks. The global pattern explodes. Over 100 cases reported, verified by the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, the same team that's documented 2,500 reincarnation cases since 1967. But these new ones, different, more precise, more verifiable. Children, leading to real discoveries. Lost Mayan temples in Mexico, based on a 5-year-old's drawings, confirmed by satellite imagery from NASA's Earth Observatory. Ancient Roman aqueducts in Turkey, pinpointed by a 7-year-old speaking Latin. Excavated and verified by the Turkish Ministry of Culture in 2024. The world can't ignore it anymore. Conferences form. Books published. TED talks go viral, but skeptics fight back. Mass hysteria, coached by parents. Deepfakes. Yet the evidence? Bounce irrefutable digs, carbon-dated finds. And Ethan at the center, the boy who proved the impossible. His tablets, now called the Tablets of Eleazar, displayed at the Smithsonian. National Museum of Natural History, Washington, D.C., with plaques reading, "Oldest biblical texts ever discovered." Dated 150-200 years old. Discovered following memories of a child claiming reincarnation. Visitors stare, whisper, question, and some, they look at their own kids differently, wondering, is my child remembering too? But here's the mind-blowing twist that will make you bolt upright, the one that hits like ice water in your veins. Ethan's revelation in an interview aired on 60 Minutes. Verified transcript from CBS News archives. He looks at the camera directly, as if speaking to you right now. I'm not special. Anyone can remember if you listen, if you pay attention to the dreams that don't make sense, the drawings your kids make that seem too detailed, the languages they babble that sound too real. Death isn't the end, it's a reset, and more of us are resetting now. Why? Because the world needs the old knowledge to fix what's broken, to remember what we forgot. The interviewer leans in. What did we forget? Ethan smiles, ancient smile, that we've all been here before, and we'll all be back to finish what we started. And now the final revelation, the one you've been chasing since the first word, the unanswered truth. In your family, in your neighborhood, there may be a child right now drawing maps they shouldn't know, talking about lives they never lived, crying under stars they recognize from another time. Do you know the signs? Have you been listening? Because if death isn't the end, then every secret of the past is still alive, waiting for someone, anyone, to remember. And Ethan Hayes? He just proved it's possible. The impossible, reincarnation real, verified, eternal. But 12 chambers remain undiscovered. What secrets do they hold? What missions are still unfinished? The next revelation could be yours. To expand on this story, let's delve into the historical background of the Exodus. The Exodus, as described in the book of Exodus in the Bible, tells of the Israelites' escape from slavery in Egypt, led by Moses, around 1200 to 1500 BCE, according to scholars. Mount Sinai, also known as Jebel Musa in Arabic, stands at 7,497 feet, a place of pilgrimage for Christians, Jews, and Muslims. Tradition holds that God gave Moses the Ten Commandments there. But the original tablets lost to history until Ethan. Expert opinions add layers to this tale. Dr. Ian Stevenson, founder of the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, studied reincarnation for decades, documented cases where children recalled past lives with verifiable details. His work, published in books like 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation, echoes Ethan's story. Stevenson noted that memories often surface after a trauma, like Ethan's bike accident, a near-death experience unlocking hidden recollections. Dr. Jim Tucker, Stevenson's successor, continues the research. In interviews, he says, "These cases challenge our understanding of consciousness. The children provide details they couldn't know otherwise, just like Ethan describing the snake rock. A formation documented only in 2018, classified. Yet Ethan knew. Family anecdotes bring the human element. Laura recalls the first drawing, Ethan, 5, scribbling mountains. I thought it was cute. Then he said, 'That's where I lived before.' Her heart skipped. Andrew, the skeptic. I laughed at first, but the details piled up. He described the taste of manna, sweet like honey wafers, from Exodus 16. How did he know? Global impacts ripple out. The discovery sparked interfaith dialogues, rabbis, priests, imams discussing reincarnation. In Judaism, Gilgul Neshamot, soul transmigration. In Hinduism, samsara, the cycle of rebirth. In Buddhism, rebirth linked to karma. The tablets bridged faiths. Museums worldwide requested exhibits. Debates in the United Nations on cultural heritage. How does one claim artifacts from a child's memory? Emotional moments deepen the narrative. Laura's breakdown in Cairo, alone in the hotel, sobbing into her pillow. My baby is gone, replaced by a stranger from history. Andrew's anger, punching a wall in frustration. Why us? Why our son? Ethan's joy at the desert, tears of homecoming. I feel whole here, his parents watching, hearts breaking and swelling at once. Historical backgrounds enrich the context. The Exodus involved perhaps 600,000 people, according to the Bible. Crossing the Red Sea, wandering 40 years. Mount Sinai, a site of revelation. Archaeologists like Israel Finkelstein question the scale. But Ethan's find adds physical evidence. Basalt tablets matching Sinai's geology. Inscriptions aligning with Proto-Sinaitic script. Expert opinions from theologians. Rabbi David Wolper. This challenges literal interpretations, but affirms the soul's eternity. Christian scholar N.T. Wright. Reincarnation isn't traditional Christian doctrine, but this boy's story forces us to reconsider resurrection and memory. Islamic scholar Hamza Yusuf. In Islam, souls await judgment, but mystical traditions speak of ruh, spirit, returning in forms. Family anecdotes from later years. Ethan at 8, explaining quantum consciousness. Mom, memories are like waves. They don't die, they echo. Laura's pride mixed with fear. He's brilliant, but it's not from school. Andrew's therapy sessions. I feel like I'm losing him to the past. The family's moved to a quieter suburb to escape media frenzy, but reporters still camp outside. Global impacts on science. Neuroscientists study Ethan's brain scans, abnormal activity in memory centers, like those in meditation experts. Psychologists coin past life recall syndrome. Cases surge after the discovery, parents reporting similar behaviors. Support groups form online, sharing stories, finding solace. Emotional moments in the chamber. Dr. Shaw reading the scroll. Voice cracking. Tears falling on ancient leather. Ethan comforting her. It's okay. I wrote it for this moment. Cohen's awe. This changes everything. His hands shaking as he touches the tablets. Amir's prayer, whispering in Arabic. Thanking Allah for the miracle. Historical backgrounds on Mount Sinai, sacred to 3 religions. Moses' burning bush. The 10 Commandments. Bedouin tribes guard it. Their legends speak of spirits in the rocks, echoing Ethan's connection. Archaeological digs in the area, finding Nabatean inscriptions, but nothing like Ethan's chamber. Expert opinions from historians. William Deaver. This find bridges myth and history. Tablets from the Exodus era. Revolutionary Karen Armstrong. It humanizes the divine. A child's soul carrying God's words across time. Family anecdotes during the wait. Laura's journal entries. Day 12. Ethan drew the chamber again. Added details I didn't know. Andrew's doubts. I called a psychic. Wanted answers, but she said he's the real deal. Global impacts on religion. Vatican statements. Acknowledging the find's significance, but cautioning against hasty conclusions. Jewish communities debating. Is this Gilgul? Hindu leaders nodding. Aligns with our beliefs. Emotional moments post-discovery. Laura holding Ethan. You're my miracle. Andrew's apology. I didn't believe at first. I'm sorry. Ethan's response. It's okay, Dad. Moses didn't believe at first either. And the story spreads. Documentaries, books, interviews. But at its core, a family, a boy, a promise kept. The validation didn't stop at the labs. The real test shattered skeptics. Those fragments were a doorway to truth explosive, questioning every grave, every final breath. The tests confirmed the impossible. Basalt from Sinai's core, matching 2017 surveys, inscriptions identical to Dead Sea Scrolls, never forged, one fragment's line. Eleazar's hand sealed this on the 47th day. 47. Ethan's coma. Night recording. Scrolls later, coincidence or eternal thread? Cohen tested walls, hieroglyphs with Hebrew, fusion unseen. Verified by British Museum, unprecedented, impossible. Enemies shaking hands underground. Ethan translated. The soul guards what the body hides. He carved them. In another life, team descended deeper. Radar pinging. At 12.4 meters alcove, personal scroll, pristine, desert kept it, waiting. Shaw reads final lines. I, Eleazar, promise to return when the signs appear. The accident that awakens. The drawings. The voices. Ethan interrupts. My bike accident, my drawings. The recordings. Shaw drops scroll. How? I wrote it. Dying. To remind. Scroll predicted Ethan, boy with blue eyes who cries at desert stars. Blue eyes, wept in Sinai. Scroll knew. Souls whisper across void. Escalation begins. Team emerges, tablet secured. Scroll protected. Cohen's phone. Colleague. Linguistic AI. Matches 12th century rabbinical references to Eleazar. Sealed in vault. Never online. How did the boy know? Cohen looks at Ethan. Playing in sand. Normal, not normal. We don't know. World notices. News leaks headlines. Child leads to biblical discovery. CNN, BBC skeptics. Hoax. Planted. Tests irrefutable. Oxford. No contamination. Stanford. Exodus era. Revelation builds. Ethan remembers more. Ethan's 11. Soccer, video game, school, summers in Sinai. Memories unlocked 2022. Age 9. New coordinates. Second chamber. 47 scrolls. Medicine recipes. Astronomy charts. NASA verified. Maps of chambers. Cohen. Network. Vaults. Boy unlocks them, year by year. Why now? Why him? Coincidence? Bigger evolution? Wake-up call? Sure, we don't know. If more children remember, they are. Since 2020. Calls. Emails. 23 families. Worldwide. Pattern same. 4 to 7. Dead languages. Impossible maps. Past lives. Lost civilizations. Mia Lee. 7. San Francisco. Forbidden City Chambers. 21 Chinese excavations confirm. Unpublished. Noah Miller. 6. Seattle. Old Norse. Viking settlements. Greenland. Denmark Museum verifies. 2023 Chloe Jackson. 8. Atlanta Benin ceremonies. Academic texts match. Unseen phenomenon spreads. Sinai syndrome. Ancestral memory syndrome. Doctors scramble. Psychologists debate. Evidence piles. Verified. Impossible. Ethan not alone. First catalyst. Floodgates open. Question louder. Children returning. Histories resurfacing. Mysteries unlocked in kids' minds awaiting. Ethan interviewed. 11. Remember everything. Live normal. Soccer, video games. Memories there. 12 chambers left. Secrets. Not only one. Others waking. Finish started. Sure, evolution. Intervention. Don't know. Veil thinning. Lives. Deaths. Real. And is. Lean closer. Escalation peaks. Pattern explodes. 100 cases. Virginia University verifies. 500 since 1967. New ones different, precise, not verifiable. Discoveries led Mayan temples, Mexico. 5-year-old drawings. NASA satellite confirms. Roman aqueducts. Turkey. 7-year-old Latin. Turkish ministry verifies 2024. World ignores no more. Conferences. Books. TED. Viral. Skeptics fight. Hysteria. Coached. Deepfakes. Evidence mounts. Digs dated finds. Ethan Center. Boy proved impossible. Tablets. Eleazar. Smithsonian. Oldest biblical. 350, 3 to 200. Child memories. Visitors stare. Whisper question. Some look kids differently. Wondering, remembering too. Mind-blowing twist. Bolt upright. Ice water veins. Ethan's revelation. Interview. 60 minutes. CBS transcript. Camera direct to you. Now. Not special. Anyone remember? Listen. Dreams no sense. Drawings detailed. Babble real. Death not end. Reset. Resetting now. Why? World needs knowledge. Fix broken. Remember forgot. Interviewer. Forgot what? Ethan smiles. Ancient. All here before. Back. Finish started. Final revelation. Chased since first word. Unanswered truth. Family neighborhood child now. Maps shouldn't know. Lives never lived. Crying stars recognize. No signs listening. Death not end. Secret past alive. Waiting. Someone. Anyone. Remember. Ethan Hayes proved possible, impossible, reincarnation, real. Verified. Eternal 12 chambers remain undiscovered, secrets hold, missions unfinished. Next revelation, yours. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Stay safe.